Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Archana Solanki. Here are the headlines we're tracking this evening. A relief rally on Dalal Street as bulls regain some lost ground. Sensex and Nifty snap a 10-day losing streak to end with the biggest single-day rally in months. Rupees rallies over 30 paisa against the dollar.
I stood beneath the dome of this capital and proclaimed the dawn of the golden age of America.
A defiant Donald Trump delivers an unapologetic speech before the U.S. Congress, doubling down on his tariff threats, promises swift and unrelenting action in the longest State of the Union address in American history, praises Elon Musk for uncovering wasteful government spending, claims U.S. will take Greenland one way or the other.
India charges us auto tariffs higher than 100%.
President Trump singles out India on tariffs once again, reiterates reciprocal tariffs will kick in from the 2nd of April. India's Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal is in Washington for talks with his U.S. counterparts. China unleashes a fresh wave of stimulus amidst the trade war with the U.S. China's premier warns of changes unseen in a century unfolding across the world. China sets a growth target of 5% and raises its budget deficit to 4%, which is the highest in 15 years. Zelenskyy says Ukraine doesn't want an endless war and is ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership. Says he was ready to sign the minerals deal with the United States. His statement comes hours after USA halts military aid to Kiev. Trump tells the US Congress that he had received strong signals that Moscow is ready for peace. After shifting weekly futures and options expiry to Mondays, NSE bats for a uniform expiry date across all stock exchanges, says expiries on different days defeats SEBI's objective of curbing excessive speculation. All political parties in Tamil Nadu reject the delimitation process expected to take place next year. A call for a freeze on the current composition of the Lok Sabha for the next 30 years after an all-party meeting chaired by Chief Minister Stalin in Chennai. Reddit co-founder Alexis Ohanian enters the race to buy TikTok in the US, joins a consortium led by billionaire Franny McCourt and promises to bring TikTok to the blockchain. A global relief rally helps the bulls on Dalal Street gain some lost ground. Markets snapped its 10-day losing streak with the Sensex and Nifty recording its biggest single-day gain in a month. Both those indices ended over 1% in the green. BSE-listed firms gained a market cap of over 8 lakh crore rupees today. Mid-caps outperformed the blue chips while banks mildly underperformed. Surbhi Upadhyay is here with the day's trading action. Surbhi, some relief there for Dalal Street.
Full green day after long last for the bulls, the Nifty finally ending its 10-session losing streak, and it was all thanks to some global resilience and hopes that finally the US and Canada and Mexico will thrash out a deal. So this was a wide rally that has led the Nifty very comfortably past the 22,300 mark, and it was also, participation from mid-caps that we saw today, an advanced decline ratio of 7:1 after a very, very long time. So what led the rally? Metal stocks, PSUs, auto and commodities in general. Let's look at the Nifty gainers then. Tata Steel, M&M, Power Grid, NTPC, BEL, Eicher Motors, Tata Motors, long list of blue chips. And the large cap big boys, they all stood up and got counted, starting with names like, of course, Reliance, ITC, Bharti, SBI, Infosys and the likes. The only niggling issue was the underperformance of the bank Nifty. And that's evident in the way some of the bigger stocks like HDFC Bank closed. In fact, even the non-banks, something like a Bajaj Finance, consistently under pressure. So that was a little bit of red on the screen today. The Adani Group had a very good session today. Lots and lots of big moves there. Adani Enterprises Ports, Adani Green, Adani Power, and Adani Energy Solutions, even Adani Wilmar, in which the group is obviously selling its stake. But because of that acquisition, the stock was up and about today, doing really well. Big day for mid-cap bounce back. Names like Coforge, Hitachi Energy, your IIFL Finance, CEAT, Acom Drugs, I can go on and on. So big, beautiful day for the mid-cap screen. The one stock that did not participate in this mid-cap move was actually the BSE. BSE stock was down about 3.5%, and that's because of the changes that the NSE is ushering in terms of the weekly expiry. We've had a great day. Now, the bulls are going to hope that there's some more stability in global markets, so some of this recovery can perhaps continue, and maybe, just maybe, the extent and the pace and the ferocity of that FPI selling also comes down.
Right, thank you, Surabhi, for that. On to all the action from the currency market now. The Indian rupee gained more than 30 paise and jumped to 87.06 paise against the US dollar. This was largely due to the dollar weakness. However, the rupee has gained less than other Asian currencies. This was the rupee's biggest single-day rally since the 11th of February. All right, the top global story we are tracking this evening. A defiant Donald Trump delivered an unapologetic speech before the U.S. Congress last evening. This lasted for 1 hour and 40 minutes. This was Trump's first address to the Congress since he returned to the White House. And this was the longest annual presidential speech in the recent history. Tariffs, which has been one of the cornerstones of Trump 2.0, as usual, was one of the key issues covered. The U.S. president doubled down on his tariff agenda. He said it was about protecting the soul of their country. Trump said that other nations have used tariffs against America for decades, and now it's time to retaliate. President Trump also said that all the reciprocal tariffs will kick in on the 2nd of April and added that if other countries impose non-monetary tariffs, U.S. will use the same move to keep them out. Singling out India, Trump said, and I quote, "India charges us auto tariffs higher than 100%, end quote. Trump also seemed to appear more accommodating when it came to returning to the discussion table with Ukraine. He quoted a letter from Zelenskyy which read that he was ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts. Trump added that his administration is working tirelessly to end the Russia and Ukraine war. He said U.S. had serious discussion with Russia and have received strong signals that they are ready for peace. Trump also said that Greenland is an important territory for the U.S. and he will try and get the region one way or another.
Other countries have used tariffs against us for decades, and now it's our turn to start using them against those other countries. On average, the European Union, China, Brazil, India, Mexico and Canada, have you heard of them? And countless other nations charge us tremendously higher tariffs than we charge them. It's very unfair. India charges us auto tariffs higher than 100%. China's average tariff on our products is twice what we charge them. And South Korea's average tariff is 4 times higher. Think of that, 4 times higher. This system is not fair to the United States and never was. And so on April 2nd, I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't want to be accused of April Fool's Day. That's not, just one day cost us a lot of money. But we're going to do it in April. I'm a very superstitious person. April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs kick in. And whatever they tariff us, other countries, we will tariff them. That's reciprocal, back and forth. Whatever they tax us, we will tax them. Earlier today, I received an important letter from President Zelenskyy of Ukraine. The letter reads, "Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer. Nobody wants peace more than the Ukrainians," he said. "My team and I stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts. We do really value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence. Regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it at any time that is convenient for you." I appreciate that he sent this letter, just got it a little while ago. Simultaneously, we've had serious discussions with Russia and have received strong signals that they are ready for peace. Wouldn't that be beautiful? We strongly support your right to determine your own future. And if you choose, we welcome you into the United States of America. We need Greenland for national security and even international security, and we're working with everybody involved to try and get it. But we need it really for international world security, and I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it.
Well, Trump also promised to retake the Panama Canal. Just yesterday, U.S. investors led by BlackRock have agreed to buy controlling stake in Panama Canal ports run by Hong Kong's C.K. Hutchison. The $19 billion deal will allow the U.S. consortium to operate 2 key ports in the South American country, countering the Chinese presence in the region. Trump praised the deal as a positive step towards reclaiming the canal for the U.S. With India facing the threat of U.S. tariffs from the 2nd of April, Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal is in Washington to meet with his American counterparts. Abhimanyu Sharma is here with more details on India's game plan to tackle the proposed U.S. tariffs.
Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal is visiting the US to negotiate a bilateral trade agreement. He's likely to meet the US Trade Representative and the US Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick. Commerce Ministry has also begun engaging with different departments on the aspects of India-US trade. India is expected to devise its trade strategy based on the quantum and extent of tariffs which are going to be levied on different products. Recently, India and the US had committed to raise bilateral trade to $500 billion by 2030. India and the US have also announced plans for a first tranche of a mutually beneficial multi-sector bilateral trade agreement within 2025 itself. The US President Donald Trump had earlier highlighted 100% tariffs in India on imported automobiles, which goes to show that India is unlikely to get any concessions from reciprocal tariffs which are kicking in from the 2nd of April. Also, the US has imposed 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada and has doubled the tariffs on all Chinese imports to 20%. China has resorted to retaliatory tariffs on agri-goods from the US. It remains to be seen what will come out of the India-US talks, based on which any further development would take place on a bilateral trade deal.
Right, thank you, Abhimanyu, for that. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has threatened non-tariff measures against the US and termed Trump's tariffs, and I quote, a very dumb thing to do. Addressing the media after announcing retaliatory tariffs on the US, Trudeau said there are no winners in a trade war.
Now, it's not in my habit to agree with the Wall Street Journal, but Donald, they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do. Today, we will also be challenging these illegal actions by filing dispute resolution claims at the World Trade Organization and through the USMCA. And should these tariffs not cease, we are in active and ongoing discussions with provinces and territories to pursue several non-tariff measures. Measures which will demonstrate that there are no winners in a trade war.
Shifting focus now, China has unleashed a fresh wave of stimulus amidst the trade war. With the US, China's premier has warned of changes unseen in a century unfolding across the world. China has also set a growth target of 5% and raised its budget deficit to 4%, which is the highest in 15 years. Here's a report.
China's parliament is holding its annual meeting under the shadow of US tariffs. With President Xi Jinping looking on, lawmakers on Wednesday committed extra money to boost the economy. China will now issue some $179 billion in special bonds to lift growth. That includes money to subsidize purchases of electric vehicles, appliances and other goods. Premier Li Qiang said the country faced increasing external pressures. Since coming to power in January, US President Donald Trump has added 20% to existing tariffs on Chinese goods.
China's average tariff on our products is twice what we charge them.
And economists bet there could be more to come. China on Tuesday shot back with its own duties on US exports, and the mounting trade war has put pressure on Beijing to take new stimulus measures. China also faces headwinds, including weak household spending and a debt-laden property sector. Even so, Li said the country would set the same growth target as last year.
The key expected development targets for this year are economic growth of around 5%, an urban unemployment rate surveyed at around 5.5%, over 12 million new urban jobs, a consumer price increase of around 2%, resident income growth in line with economic growth, and a basically balanced international balance of payments.
Since the pandemic, China has bet on what it calls new productive forces, pouring money into things like advanced manufacturing. But economists have urged Beijing to do more to reduce the country's dependence on exports. On Wednesday, Lee said the government would take steps to boost household spending, currently far below the global average. However, he offered no timeline for the measures.
Shares of metal stocks rose in early trade after China announced plans to restructure its steel industry through output cuts, with US President Trump imposing 25% tariffs on aluminium steel from next month. How will this impact China's stimulus measures? Manisha Gupta joins us with more.
Well, the focus clearly has been on metals today, where we've seen very strong gains come in. And on one side, of course, it was all about the US tariffs. 25% of that has been levied on Canada and Mexico. And then China's tariffs have been doubled to 20%. Also, there are tariffs now on steel and aluminum, and that made the markets quite wary. But then it was all about the China meeting today, where they have put GDP at 5% yet again for a third straight year. There also is issuance of to the local government in sense of special bonds there. And also there is pledge to issue 1.3 trillion yuan in sense of special treasury bonds. Now, this clearly supported the market. This, in any case, has been a conversation or a narrative for some time now, that China, in sense of its stimulus measures, will be reacting to the kind of tariffs that it sees coming in from US, and that's exactly what we have seen. Also, when you look at the last couple of data that has come in from China, whether it has been about factory activities, services data has been better than what the street anticipated. That in turn also has been supportive. China also has talked about steel output restructuring. As of now, it is 1 billion tons of steel production that China does for the last 3 years now. But a 50 million tons of a cut in this output is what they have proposed. So if that also goes through, we would be looking at support coming in for markets.
Right, thank you, Manisha, for that. Coming up next, after shifting weekly futures and options expiry to Mondays, NSE bats for a uniform expiry date across all stock exchanges. Details in just a bit. Welcome back. India's services sector growth accelerated in February thanks to robust demand and a firm business outlook that led to a rise in employment. The HSBC India Services Purchasing Managers Index rose to 59 in February from a 26-month low of 56.5 in the previous month. A reading above 50 represents expansion in services activity. The hunt for a new revenue secretary is on. Sources have told CNBC-TV18 that the government is planning to consider some candidates for the post. Now, some of these include MeitY Secretaries S. Krishnan, Sports Secretary Sujata Chaturvedi, and DIPAM Secretary Arunesh Chawla. The post has been vacant since Finance and Revenue Secretary Tuhin Kanta Pandey was appointed as the chairperson of SEBI. Currently, the additional charge has been given to DES Secretary Ajay Seth. Shares of Coforge rose more than 8% in early trade after it struck a mega deal with Zabe Corp. The deal will be worth $1.56 billion over 13 years. This will also strengthen the company's long-standing partnership and accelerate the product roadmap. The shares of Gensol Engineering hit lower circuit for the second straight day. This after ratings agency ICRA and CARE downgraded the company's rating over delays in its debt servicing. It alleged that certain documents shared by Gensol Engineering on its debt servicing track record were apparently falsified, raising concerns over its corporate governance practices. CARE said that the company's liquidity remains poor. Gensol's shares were down 20% yesterday, following which its circuit limit was revised lower. Remember, Gensol is promoted by the founders of electric vehicle ride-hailing startup Blue Smart. The National Stock Exchange has changed the expiry day of all Nifty weekly derivative contracts from Thursday to Monday. This comes after the NSE batted for a uniform expiry date across all stock exchanges to curtail excessive speculation. Now, currently, the BSE has its contract expiry on Tuesdays, and the stock fell in trade on the back of this move by the NSE.
With respect to the expiry date, and you've seen, expiry day shifts being undertaken by other exchanges, and there are also some new exchanges who are planning a foray into equity derivatives to launch weekly expiries. I think it all follows from the SEBI rules, which require only one expiry per exchange. But if the intention of the regulators is to have one expiry, I think it makes sense to choose the optimal day of the week. The rationale for this decision is more to take into account the fact that there are lots of geopolitical events, developments over the weekend, and Monday is a great day to therefore have the expiries.
It was Prime Minister Narendra Modi's day out at Vantara, the world's largest wildlife rescue, rehabilitation and conservation centre, which is the brainchild of Anant Ambani. The Prime Minister visited the centre situated in Gujarat's Jamnagar district for its formal inauguration. Vantara is home to more than 2,000 species and over 1.5 lakh rescued and endangered animals. The Prime Minister commended Anant Ambani and team for what he called a very compassionate effort. Top corporate, sporting and film personalities have hailed Anant Ambani's commitment. Anant Mahindra tweeted saying that the level of care and expertise that Anant Ambani has put together at Vantara is truly impressive and cutting edge. Sachin Tendulkar called his commitment and passion commendable. Shah Rukh Khan tweeted that the purity of a person's heart is directly proportionate to their love for animals. Actor Ranveer Singh hailed Anant Ambani's generosity, while filmmaker Karan Johar said that Anant's compassion and care for animals is beyond admirable. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Business 360. More news and updates continue right here on CNBC-TV18.